I'm in such a good mood this morning. It's ridiculous. So I know you're tired, but I'm just asking you. Sometimes you're so tired that you just roll with it and you get slap happy. Anybody in for that? Let's just have a good time. And it's funny because this morning, I really felt like, and you kind of dug into the passage. We're going to talk about something, but I'm going to take a little different approach to it because the passage you just learned was, loving God means keeping his commands, and his commands aren't burdensome. They always feel like it though, don't they? Like it always feels, if we're being for real, like if we're just saying, you know what, yes, I stepped into the light, yes, I believe, but I got to do what? I got to be nice all the time. I can't be sarcastic and mean. Like, it's kind of fun. Anybody feel like it's occasionally fun to just be mean? Anybody? Like, you're lying if you're not raised here. Like, some of us, I'm just going to be straight up honest. Some of you are like, I've made out with somebody before and it's really fun. Anybody? Yeah, you're not going to raise your hand, but it's fine. So I can't do that. I can't, what's the list of things, what do I have to do? And some of you are going through your mind, you're like, I've got a lot of things in my life that I love to do, so now that I made a decision for him, you mean he's going to, tie me down and make me feel like oh, man, is this what it means to follow Jesus? Because so many times, there's a reason it's in that text that way. The reason it's in that text that way is because when we hear his commands, we really think, the first thing we think, when I say the word obey, what do you think? Murder. You're like, that's so lame. That's so lifeless. That feels so constricting. It feels like you're trying to hold me down. It feels like a chain, right? So I want to give you context, and then here in a second, I'm going to adopt you into my family. Is that all right? Just for the morning. We're going to have a little fun. And we're going to have a little fun. But let me read the context of this verse because I feel like you need to hear it in. And so I'll put it up on the screen, but it goes like this. It starts, 1 John 5, verse 1, starts like this. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ has become a child of God. How many people have stepped in the light this week? Anybody? How many of you didn't step in this week, but you're in the light? You're like, I'm in, man. I'm in. I'm in. Okay. So if that's happened, you're a child of God, and everyone who loves the Father, here's the reality. If you love him, you got to love his kids, man. Even if you don't want to, it's just part of the deal. It's good for you. Second, we're going to say this. We know we love God's children if we love God and we obey his commands. And all of a sudden we go, okay, like we got to obey. Like obeying your parents. How much do you love that? Right. And so, okay, I guess if I love my parents, I need to obey, but it feels like that. It feels like, God, you need me to take out the trash. You want me to clean my room. You want me to just brush your teeth. That's sick. You got a long list of things you need me to do. I don't really want to do them, but you're in charge, so I guess I'll do them. And so you feel tied down. I guess I have to take the dumb dog and walk it. I got to feed the cat. I don't even like it. I got to do all this stuff. So it feels like, okay, so obedience. Let's just keep rolling. Just hang with me. Loving God means keeping his commands. Does it? So loving him means this? Okay. Well, and his commandments are not burdensome. Anybody take out the trash every week? It's not fun, man. Anybody feel like you always have to keep, your friends always get to say yes and you always have to say no? That's cool. That's okay. That doesn't feel like a burden to anybody in the room. Are we being real? And so he says, but don't miss this. The next verse is this. For every child of God defeats this evil world. And we achieve this victory through our faith. See, he says this thing. I get this. You're one of my kids. Whether you know it or not, you're one of my kids. And here's the thing. If you love me, you will obey me. It's not just, God doesn't just say it here. It doesn't say in 1 John. Jesus, when he has the only pre-announced meeting up on top of a mountain, I'd love to take you there. It's probably Mount Arbel. But as you stand there, 450 of his people, 40 some days after he's resurrected, he gets them all up there and he says, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, as you go, I want you to make disciples. I want you to baptize them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And I want you to teach them to obey. And I promise you, I'll be with you the whole of every moment, but you got to teach them how to obey. Well, why? You just want everybody to have chains? Well, he just goes on. He says, here's why. Because if you trust me, there's this thing called victory. There's victory. There's power. See, there's something. You're a kid, and I've got some commands, and if you keep my commands, don't miss this, you're going to walk in a kind of power that you don't know yet. You haven't tasted it yet. You haven't seen it yet. You don't know what, so I need to do this. I feel like, and we can, and I love this, and who can win this battle against the world? Only those who believe in Jesus, the Son of God. So here's what I'm going to do. I feel like this is going to be really hard. So I need to adopt you, okay? Like, you ready to be adopted? Okay. So you're gonna have to see another picture of my family. I'm gonna walk through some of them, but I need you to find yourself in my family, okay? So how many firstborn are out there? Firstborn, yeah. You guys are tired. Stand up real fast. Just stand up real fast. Hug each other real fast. You can't miss this, and we're gonna have fun, but man, you're tired. Just hug the person next to you. Say, I love you. A lot of hugs in the Reagan family. A lot of love in the Reagan family. Some of you can't even stand. That's how tired you are. Side hugs while you're sitting. That's cool. Okay. All right. So let me right up here in the middle. Let me throw up a picture of my family, and let me walk through them. Yeah, I love these guys. And so my first kid's Noah. First kids in the room, you guys like are in charge of everything, right? You always decide, and it drives everybody else crazy, and you get, okay. First kids, you like to be in control. So does my oldest son. My oldest son is really smart. Smart people in the room. Where are you at? Smart people. Point to the smartest person you know. Just point to him. Okay. If you're pointing to yourself, it's cool, I guess. So I just need to set this up. I just need to set up being a dad. Can I set up being a dad real fast? Because some of you smart people, some of you firstborn, some of you that like, you've got this authority, you can make decisions. I just want you to know, like my son, when I see my son, and as I'm raising him, he doesn't know who he's gonna be. I do. Like I know who my son's gonna be. I know some of you smart people, I know who you're gonna be. I know the power that God has planned for you, that he could use you to do things that have not been done in our country, in our world. I see the problems that you can solve. I see the way that you think things through, that you lead things that have never been done, and I just know it's inside of you. And I promise you, as a dad, if you were in my house, I would pray into that every single day. I would help you to recognize like who you are. There is power in intelligence. There's power in wisdom. There's power in intellect. Read Proverbs 1-8. It's David speaking to his boy Solomon, just telling him time and time again, pursue wisdom. I promise you, it'll be the best pursuit of your life. You leverage that for the kingdom, man. I promise you. I'm so anxious to see what God does with my oldest son. I can't wait. Second kids, where are you at? Number 2. You're number 2, or you middle kids? Middle kids. Yeah, you don't cheer as loud because you're like, I thought you were going to forget me. Like I'm always in the middle, right? Or maybe you're the second, the youngest. But some of you second kids, I'll explain Sammy up there. Sammy is my second one. He's here. And I cleared this with him to talk about him. He's right up there. And sorry, Sammy, here we go. And how many sports people in the room? Sports people, where you at? Okay. Leaders, how many of you know, point to somebody who you know is a leader. They just have a natural gift of leadership in their life. Just point to them. Yeah. A lot of people that do athletics, they also are natural leaders. Sammy, from the time he like came out of the womb, not quite then, he was slimier, but it's true. You're going to be there one day. You're going to catch him. You're going to be like, you are so beautiful. No. And so from the time he was like little, and I just remember watching this, Sammy has always been a natural born leader. He's always been really athletic. I remember him at pools when we be at things, and he was like super little, and he would see like you all do backflips into the pool, and then he'd just stand and he'd get ready to do a backflip, and we're like, no, and he'd land it. We were like, yes. And it was awesome, and he's always picked up things. Sammy has always been a natural leader. So have some of you. Sammy doesn't always know where he's leading them. Neither do you. And sometimes I look at him, and when I see him wake up, and when I watch him go out with friends, we just had a Bible study literally last week, Sammy, Wednesday night at our house, and he invited a whole bunch of guys. Most of those guys would never, ever, ever come to a Bible study, but because Sam asked, they will. That's you. Some of you in the room, man, you've got this natural leadership thing, and you don't understand what God wants to do with you, man. You don't understand how He wants to leverage that leadership and leverage when you walk in rooms, rooms change. And you know it. You know what? My third son right there is Levi. Say, what's up, Levi? Levi is, first of all, strikingly handsome. And all the little girls, I only know this because it's not like anyway, so I know this because when we go to school, all the girls are like, Levi. And some of you in here are you're just beautiful people. Most of you are beautiful. It's kind of weird. It's a Southern California thing, isn't it? It's fine. Most of you, I'm just kidding. No, you're beautiful people. But Levi is a creative. Where are my creatives at? Creatives, where you at? Where you at? Okay. Music, musicians, artists, creatives. You're always creating something. Environment matters to you. Your room is like styled a certain way when it's not trashed. And you love creating environments. You love to make people feel different things. And that's Levi, man. And I watch Levi. And Levi is just a super quirky little dude. And he's always making, he's always creating, he's always doing. And I can't wait to see what God does with him, with you creatives. I feel like God has fashioned you and formed you to shape culture, to make people feel things that they don't understand how to feel. You felt it long before anybody else in the room did. And even as we worship during this week, your emotions, you're like crying during worship, and everybody's like, what's wrong with you? Because you feel things, and it's a gift, and I can't wait to see the way God unleashes that on the kingdom. I can't wait. He's even doing it now. And then there's that sweet little girl right there, little Ava. She's going to camp today. I was just FaceTiming her. Dad is not ready for that girl to go to camp, y'all. She's going to camp, and when I see her, how many of you are, girls, where are you at? Just help me. And I just want to lean in. You know, and I hope you know this, you are a treasure, girls. You're such a gift. There's a place that a woman has, not only with God's heart, with the Father's heart, but with everybody else. You have a spot in the kingdom that is reserved for you. In your leadership, we call Ava the general, okay? Because she's got all these brothers, and out in the yard, there'll be a bunch of people playing. I don't know if I said this or not. And Ava will walk out, and she'll look at them, and she'll be like, literally, we just had some people over, and there's a bunch of girls, and they're like, she was like, I don't know what we're doing in the yard, and they were just kind of playing and swinging, and she was like, all of you in with me, this is boring. And we're like, baby girl, you got to be a little softer. So we know she's got this leadership thing. We know that she's got this gift. When Ava walks in a room and says something, she'll walk into the brothers wrestling, farting, fighting, all that kind of stuff. And at night, she'll walk in, and she's just softer and pretty, and she just walks in, and she goes, night, Sammy, and gives him a kiss, and he's like, Then she goes, true, isn't it? Yup. Ava's got this thing. We went downtown Indianapolis the other day, and we were at this conference, and I took the family, and we were hanging out, and I gave Ava money because she was super conservative about all the homelessness. So I gave Ava money, and she's just like handing out money, and then I'm like, baby, I ain't got no money. And we're like, we're out. And so literally that night she went in a room. I didn't know she was doing this, y'all, and she was writing notes. I didn't know this until the next morning on the street. I just watched her. She didn't have any money, so she just started handing letters to these homeless people. And I said, baby, what are you doing? She goes, well, Daddy, I don't have any money. I at least want them to know that God loves them. That's why she's my favorite. Daughter, my favorite daughter. You didn't let me finish, okay? But I'm just telling you, ladies, hear me. The way that you see the world, the compassion that you hold in your heart, the leadership that he wants to unlock in you, I'm just telling you, I can't wait to see who you become. I can't wait. And then I have a baby, and we don't know who he's going to be. He just poops in his pants right now, and it's awesome. And so here's what I want to tell you. I don't just know what they're going to be great at. You know what I also know? I also know what's standing in the way of their greatness. And I know it about you too. Because that's what a father does. See, I know that my oldest, while he is intellectual and he's smart and he's witty, he can also use his wisdom as a weapon. Anybody? He's very quick to understand things. He's very slow to compassionately love people. He's very quick to know that he's right, but you know what? It's really hard for him to repent and ever say that he's wrong. He leans towards skepticism. And as a father, I'm just telling you, because I know who he's going to be, I'm speaking into his ear all the time saying, son, you can't just think, you have to love. You have to have compassion. You have to see people. You know what? My bad dad? My bad dad for telling him all the things that are standing in his way that are going to hurt his heart, and I have to say, hey, don't be a skeptic. Hey, put down that book. Hey, I need some commands. I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me, son. I need you to trust me. Is that because I'm a bad dad? My son Sam. See, my son Sam, I know who he's going to be. I know the leader he's going to be, but I also know that everybody else only sees him as an athlete. They only see him as a leader. The people at school see him as someone who's popular. And I recognize that I'm not the only one speaking into his life, telling him who he is. That there's a whole list of coaches and friends telling him, you're the best, you're the strongest, you're the fastest, and so score more goals. That's who you are. You're a great athlete. You're popular in school. Everybody is wanting to be like you. And let me just, you think as a father that I care about a dumb ball in a stadium, or do you think that I care about the kind of leader that the King unleashes on this planet? So as I speak into his chest and I say, Sammy, be careful that your life isn't about sports. Be careful that you don't get sucked into popularity. Son, be careful about the friends that you choose. Son, be careful about the heart that you have in your chest. Is it because I'm a tyrant? Levi, creative, feels everything, right? And I love that, and I can't wait to see. But you think down the road that there aren't going to be a whole bunch of people telling Levi, hey, just express yourself. It doesn't really matter. Just everything is okay. And you just feel things. You just create things. And there's no boundaries. And is that the son that I know? Is that the one that God's planted on this earth that he knew before my wife or I knew? That he has a gift for him? That he's got plans for him? That he wants to use him to bring victory about in life after life after life, where he can shape culture, where he can define people's futures and make them understand, help them understand who God is in creative and unique ways, or it's always going to be about him. So I have to say to him, son, you have got to turn the feelings off sometimes, son. You got to stop being so emotional. Man, I love the gift in you, but you got to guard your emotions. You got to ground them in some truth. You have to know what the aim is. You have to know what reality is. Son, you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention. He hates it. He thinks I'm mean. He wants to rebel. And Ava, oh, sweet Ava, this gift of a young woman with the compassion of God in her heart, who sees people as they are and just wants to respond to them. You think she doesn't have a boy coming to start whispering in her ear? You think there aren't some friends of hers down the road because we don't really care that much about what's on the outside of her? And I think she's radiant. You think she's not going to have a friend group that's got the right clothes and they're doing the right things and they're always at the right parties? And you think that as she looks into that group and and I'm just going to say this, girls can be sometimes mean. Friend group, true or not true? Guys can too, but girls, they talk it out. They're just like crazy. I'm sitting here. How many times I have to say, hey, baby, guard your heart, baby. Guard your heart. Hey, girl, be careful on social media, girl. Don't hop on there. Don't respond that way. Don't treat your friend like that. I know how she's treating you. I know how she's looking at you. I know what she said about you. Baby, I know that boy's made promises. I know everybody else thinks he's great. He is a high school boy. Don't give your heart to him. Am I a tyrant? Am I a bad dad? Am I chaining up my kids because somehow I don't have enough wisdom to know where they're going? Somehow I don't have a heart. I just have a bad heart. I just want them to have a bad time. I don't want them to really experience high school because I just feel like, I'm just stuffy and those are just my rules. You think that for 1 second that I haven't sat with a 50-year-old man who, like my son, was intellectual and wanted to leverage his wisdom, and he was angry at a dad, and he leveraged his life for money, for possessions, and 50 years down the road, his heart's broken, he's on his third marriage, his family's a wreck, and he's in tears, wondering why someone didn't warn him, someone didn't restrict him, someone didn't trustworthy step into his life and tell him what to do, and now who's in chains? You think I haven't met a girl who's in her 30s and she's trying to figure out young marriage and she's trying to figure out being a mom, but she spent so much of her time being broken and broken and broken because she trusted boy after boy after boy after boy, and she gave her heart. She doesn't know who she is. She's 30 years old. She's got a child, and because she's had a child and she's not in the scene and people don't see her a certain way, she doesn't know if she's worth anything. She doesn't know if she's beautiful. And you tell me, who's in chains? Who's in chains? Is it the one who listened to the Father and his demand seemed unreasonable? Is it the creative that I see time and time again, and they express themselves, and somehow I spend time with them, I swear to you, and I spend time with them, and they're so lost, and they're so depressed, and they're riddled with anxiety because they don't even know what's real, and they get lost in these theological circles, and they're just expressing everything and feeling nothing. Who's in chains? So I just have these questions. Is he a bad dad? Is he someone who says, hey, I don't want you having fun. You know what? I don't want you to have a good time. I don't want you to have a good heart. And I know you see things all around you, and you see people, and you go, but I see these people, and they're not in chains. They seem so happy. And I've told you this story, but I'm gonna share a little different part of it. And it's been a couple years, but I was walking onto a plane, and I met two people, and I'll never forget it. I'm walking down the aisle, and I saw an aisle seat, and it was on the Southwest. Long story. And I saw two kind of beautiful people. And as soon as I saw this guy, he slid over, and he was like this super attractive guy with just like, he's in a tank top, so don't judge him. And it was in February. And I get back to the back, and he looks at me, and he scoots over next to this pretty girl. She was young 20s, had everything together. And they look at me, and I'm just sitting there going, oh, man, I love people. I love conversations. God always does cool things on planes with me. And so I sit down, and I'm like, hey, is this seat taken? He said, dude, sit down. I just landed the deal of my life. And I met Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm like, okay. And he said, here's the deal. You just need to know this. Like, we're going to get totally wasted and celebrate. I'm like, oh, okay. So I sit next to him, and I just watch these two go back and forth. He starts hitting on her. She shuts him down. He's like, okay, well, let's keep going. And so she's getting ready. She's going to meet her fiance. They start talking. Once I get shut down, he starts talking about the best places. I can't even make this up. The best places because he's going to celebrate, and he needs to fly to somewhere and sleep with somebody really hot. So he's trying to ask her and ask me where the best places to pay to sleep with people around the world. Okay. He looks at me and he's like, I'm like, don't know. He's like, oh, you're married. I'm like, yeah, but if you weren't married, I'm like, still no. And he turns to her and she's talking, and she's like, well, I don't know about that, but she starts letting him know that she's in the adult entertainment industry. And as she turns to him and looks at him and says, actually I'm in the adult entertainment industry, and there's quite a few, and they start having this conversation. I'm like, Lord, is this like a headphones on, headphones off conversation? Like, what are we doing right now? And as we sit there and we hear them talking, I had this moment where I could just step apart and I could look over, and I'm telling you, from your perspective, from the world's perspective, I'm seeing young, attractive, beautiful people have lots of money, have everything that they want. We get in this conversation, and I start talking to her, and her name's Celine, and his name is Jeremy, and as we're sitting there, I'm talking to her, we get into this conversation, he kind of recognizes there's something different about me, and he swings his head around, and he looks at me, and he just literally in the plane, and we're de-icing in the middle of Chicago, getting ready to fly, funny enough, to sunny California. And a long flight ahead, and he looks at me, he turns around, and he just starts bawling. Him in his tank top, with shoulders shrugging. And I'm just sitting there looking at him going, bro, I don't know what we're crying about. I'm so lost. And he looks at me and he can't get out the words. He's got snot bubbles coming down. And I'm like it's quiet. We're not moving. Everybody hears him. And I'm like, are you okay? And he was like, are you a Christian? And I'm like, I think so. No, I said, yes. And he just starts crying in this very put together, everything's fine, just signed a multi-million-dollar deal, just starts weeping and said, you know what, when I was young, I was at a camp, I gave my life to Christ, I decided to go overseas in missions. I got overseas and nobody understood my chains and I was doing all the right stuff, but I never had a really good heart. Nobody ever showed me. And so I ended up sleeping with a staff member's wife. I felt so guilt-ridden and stricken because that was my world, but I thought I could turn it off, but I couldn't turn it off. I still had those chains. And so I came back to America and I said, I'll just make money and give it all to you. But you know what? I started to make money. I fell in love with money. When I fell in love with money, I fell in love with women. When I fell in love with women, I fell in love with drugs. I'm dealing drugs. I don't even need to deal drugs. He started trying to find a picture of his girlfriend. He couldn't find one with her clothes on because they make all these movies and all these pictures. And he's like, and I'm so empty and I'm so alone. And I did the deal of a century and I think I have everything I thought I wanted, but I was in the shower this morning and I'm just a wreck and I'm so empty. And I just said, God, I don't even have any Christians in my life. If you would just put a Christian in my life today, I swear I would change. He's like, just tell me you'll talk about Jesus. See, from the outside, he looked fine. They all do. But it's in here. Chains. Celine's over next to the window, and Celine is so offended that we're having a conversation about Jesus. She's got her long fake nails. She's just tapping on her phone. She's like, oh my gosh. And she's just doing this thing, and she's looking at us, and then you can just feel how much she hates us right now, right? Still haven't left the tarmac. And she's just typing. And she looks over and she kind of hops in the conversation. I won't tell you how, I don't have time. But she hops into the conversation and she said, I just don't understand. You guys are talking about God and everything? I do a great voice. It's legit. She's like, you guys are talking about God and everything, and I just don't understand how you could possibly love a God who, does all these things. And here she's in the adult entertainment industry, and she had just been telling us about stealing money from guys who had no money and were homeless and couldn't feed their kids. She said, I just don't understand. God just seems like such a, if he can do all this and he still allows this to happen, he's just mean. He's just mean. And she just goes on this thing about how God can't possibly be good. So why would you ever believe in him? You get this twinge, and some of you have experienced this. I don't want to put God in the box, but every time you go out and you do the things that God cares about, you care about people. When you step into people's lives and God does things in your life that you don't understand, and I just lean over to her, and I can't explain, but I just said to her, I said, hey, Celine, you mind if I ask you a question? And she looked at me, and she's like, I'm an open book. And I said, well, I got tank top boy, and he's clean snot, it's not private. And I'm like, are you okay? She's like, I'm an open book. And I'm like, okay. So I said, are you mad at God? Are you mad at God because you think he's a tyrant about what he's done in the world? Or are you mad at God because when you were a little girl, you were abused? And she just started to cry. Now she's crying, he's crying, I'm crying. We haven't even left the tarmac. And I'm just sitting there going, what are we doing, Lord? Where are we going, right? And so I just, and you fast forward that thing, and I just want to say this. We all are in chains. But it's not him. See, if you understood the Father's heart, you would recognize that every time the Father walks in the room, he gives us commands and they lead to life. And if you don't trust him, I promise you down the road, you will end up tied up, locked down, fighting addictions. Some of you already know. Fighting past memories, fighting anxiety. Was that because God was a bad dad? Or is that because somewhere along the line you said, you know what, I know what God wants, but you know what, he just doesn't really know. And you know what, he's probably holding out on me. And you know what, he can't really give me what I want and what I need. I see what I want, I see what I need, and I'll go after it. And you chased it, and what did you find at the end of the trail? Contentment? Peace? Joy? Or did you find addiction? and loneliness and darkness and shame. See, Jesus, I love this, and I'll just say this fast, and I love Jesus, and the way that when Jesus walked in the room, you need to know that Jesus is the image of the invisible. He gives us a picture of what the Father's like, and when Jesus in John chapter 8 walks in on a woman who is just literally naked out of a room, been walked out, she's been sleeping with another man, and it's not her husband. And she's caught red-handed, and she comes out, and she's planted in the middle for everybody to see her shame, her guilt, that she has been chained to a relationship, caught in adultery. I don't know how it started. How did it start for some of you? Was she such a bad person that she just hopped in the sack? Or was she like us, where she just fell in love with a boy? And she knew it wasn't the right boy, and she knew it wasn't the right time. And it started slow, and emotions built. And she knew she should be cautious, but she couldn't be cautious. And some of her friends encouraged it, and some people gave her time. And then all of a sudden, she ends up caught, shamed, busted. And Jesus walks in. Chains drop. Or maybe like when he walks in with the Samaritan woman in John chapter 4, and there's a well, and he walks up to a well, and he runs into this and yet another girl. It's a woman, and this woman is chained, literally, we're going to find out, to isolation. She has no friends. And as a matter of fact, not only that, she's been in some broken relationships. See, she put her trust in a boy. Any of you girls ever put your trust in a boy? See, she put her trust in a boy, and then maybe another boy, and then she put it in a man, but come to find out, the man was just a boy. You know what? Then she put her trust in another man, but the man wasn't a man, and the man was a boy. And 9 relationships deep, she found herself wrecked. She realized that she gave all of her life to a boy and had no relationships with any other girls. She finds herself at the well with Jesus. What's Jesus going to do? You know, or maybe it's the demon-possessed man in Mark chapter 5 when he gets off the boat and this guy's been staying up in the hills. And some of you have experienced this. We were going to see a naked guy run up to Jesus. Let me just put it like this. I don't know what happened in his past. I don't know what happened, but I just want to say this. Some of you in the room, something happened when you were younger. You may not even know what it is. But like this guy, you've got this anxiety, you've got these chains, you've got this darkness, and you don't know where it came from. You don't know what to do with it. You just know that you're angry. You just know that you're broken. You just know that you want to hurt yourself. You just know that you don't value your own life. And this guy runs at Jesus. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? The guy even says to Jesus, please don't hurt me. Brother, you're naked, running around cutting yourself. You think Jesus is going to give you chains? Or when he runs into Levi, who's chained to popularity. Anybody chained to popularity in here? Some of you are sitting in this room right now and you know the change. You want to walk in the light. You want to have freedom. And I'm just telling you right now, the change you have on you is, you know, if you change, it ruins your popularity, your social structure. You've got a good thing going. You've got the right friend group, and your trajectory is to be on top. And so for you to change might hold you back. But then Levi runs into Jesus. Or Zacchaeus, and Zacchaeus was wealthy, and some of you in here, because of where you live and what you see, the cars that you want to drive and the house that you want to have, and the perfect wife and the perfect husband that jogs for 2 hours every day and has the perfect physique and looks a certain way, there is a trajectory for that. And so Zacchaeus saw that too, and he said, I'm going to chase that. I'm going to go after that. But then Zacchaeus finds himself in a tree, realizing that money and wealth and looks actually don't give you what you think they will. So today, you have an opportunity, and I love what John says in 8, same guy that wrote this, and he just says this, he just says, John chapter 8, he says, I tell you the truth, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Every one of us in chains. Do you know what your chains are? But he also says, but if the Son sets you free, you're free indeed. And so today you have an opportunity. You really do. maybe rethink. Is your father a tyrant? How many of you in the room are in chains and you know it? Man, right now, you've even tried to get out. You know what the crazy thing about chains is? You can't break them. I'm not like a big dude, but not happening. Some of the chains you all have in this room, you can't break on your own. You need his power, you need his wisdom, and you need his heart. So today, let's do something with this. Because I don't know about you, but I hate being chained. Heavenly Father God, I love you. I do.